Welcome to Remember That Show. This is where I dive deep into our memories and pull out a TV show we loved and to a bio on it. Today it is the Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs is an American family sitcom television series that aired on ABC from April 26, 1991 to July 20th, 1994. The show, about a family of anthropomorphic dinosaurs, was produced by Michael Jacobs Productions and Jim Henson Television in association with Walt Disney Television and distributed by Buena Vista International Incorporated. The characters were designed by Henson team member Kirk Thatcher. Origins and development. News stories written at the time of the show's premiere highlighted Dinosaurs' connection to Jim Henson, who had died the year before. Henson conceived the show in 1988, according to an article in the New York Times, adding he wanted it to be a sitcom, but about a family of dinosaurs. Until the success of The Simpsons, according to Alex Rockwell, a vice president of the Henson organization, people thought it was a crazy idea. In the late 1980s, Henson worked with William Stout, a fantasy artist, illustrator, and designer, on a feature film starring animatronic dinosaurs with the working title of The Natural History Project. A 1993 article in The New Yorker said that Henson continued to work on a dinosaur project, presumably the Dinosaurs concept, until the last months of his life. The television division of the Walt Disney Company began working on the series in 1990 for CBS before the series landed on ABC, which Disney eventually acquired. Raphael Montemayor Aguiton of Vulture wrote that upon premiere the show was a hit, and Michael Jacobs stated that this was why the network did not interfere much in the production. Aguiton wrote that ratings suffered from the show being moved to different time slots on the network. The animatronics made the show relatively expensive, with Stuart Pankin recalling that "I heard it was the most expensive half-hour TV show, at least at that point, and that this contributed to the cancellation."
Plot.
Dinosaurs is initially set in 60 million BC in Pangaea. The show centers on the Sinclair family: Earl Sneed Sinclair, father; Fran Sinclair, née Philip's mother; their three children, son, Robbie; daughter, Charlene; and infant, baby Sinclair; and Fran's mother, Ethel. Earl's job is to push over trees for the Westsaso Corporation with his friend and co-worker Roy Hess, where they work under the supervision of their boss, Bradley P. Richfield.
Characters.
The focus of the show's plot is the Sinclair family: Earl, Fran, Robbie, Charlene, Baby, and Ethel. The family name is a reference to the Sinclair Oil Corporation, which had prominently featured a dinosaur as its logo and mascot for decades, under the belief that petroleum deposits were formed during the age of the dinosaurs. Other character and family names throughout the series often referred to rival petroleum companies or petroleum products. For example, Phillips, Hess, BP, Richfield, and Ethel, among others. Main characters: Earl Sneed Sinclair, Stuart Pankin, Bill Beretta. Tom Fisher, occasionally Dave Goelz, seasons 1 to 2. Mac Wilson, seasons 2 to 4. Megalosaurus, the patriarch of the Sinclair family. Earl is the protagonist. He is a 43-year-old Megalosaurus and is depicted as being thick-headed and suggestible. Earl works as a tree pusher at the Westsaso Development Corporation. Sneed is the maiden name of Earl's mother. Fran Philip Sinclair, Jessica Walter Mitchell Young Evans, seasons 1 to 2. Tony Sabin Prince, seasons 2 to 4. Pons Mar, occasionally. Alan Troutman Allosaurus, the mother and homemaker of the Sinclair family. Fran is mentioned on the show as being an Allosaurus. On rare occasions, Fran wears fuzzy house slippers. Earl affectionately calls his wife Franny. Robert Mark Robbie Sinclair, Jason Willinger Leaf Tilden, Steve Whitmire. Rob Mills, occasionally. Julian Bisher, Eyes, Hypsilophodon. Earl and Fran's son and oldest child. He is a Hypsilophodon. Robbie stands out with his red varsity jacket and bright red sneakers. Charlene Sinclair, Sally Struthers Mitchell and Sisty. Star Townsend, occasionally. Arlene Laurie, season 1. Episode 1 only. Bruce Lanoil, Protoceratops. Earl and Fran's only daughter and middle child. She is a Protoceratops. Charlene stands out by wearing sweaters, necklaces, and earrings. Baby Sinclair, Kevin Clash, Terry Harden, Arms, season 1 to 3. Julian Bisher, Arms, season 4. Kevin Clash, Head and Mouth. John Kennedy, Eyes, Megalosaurus Earl and Fran's son and youngest child. He is a megalosaurus, as stated by Earl. In the episode Out of the Frying Pan, Baby is shown as a ceratosaurus. His legal name is Baby Sinclair, which was given to him by the chief elder. Baby is sarcastic and wisecracking. His favorite thing to do is to hit Earl on the head with a frying pan. His catchphrases are, "I'm the baby," "Gotta love me," again, and "Not the mama." His preferred name for his father Earl, much to his father's chagrin. Earl will often call his youngest son Junior. For a while, the character was actually christened as "Ag, I'm dying you idiot, Sinclair." The unfortunate last words of a dying chief elder who is suffering from a heart attack, but it wasn't until the end of the episode in which he received that hilariously crude name that new chief elder Edward R. Hero renamed him Baby Sinclair after one of his popular catchphrases. Jacob stated that the popularity of Baby contributed to the network, allowing the creators to run the show as they saw fit, stating, "As long as the baby hit his father over the head with a pot, we could use that to hide anything." Supporting characters: Ethel Hinkleman Phillips Florence Stanley Brian Henson, Seasons 1 to 2. Ricky Boyd, Seasons 3 to 4. Kevin Clash, occasionally. David Greenaway, occasionally. Julianne Bisher, Face, occasionally. Edmontonia Ethel is an Edmontonia who is Fran's mother, Earl's mother-in-law, and the maternal grandmother of Robbie, Charlene, and Baby. Ethel comes to live with the Sinclairs and is revealed to have a son named Stan, Fran's brother. Ethel always wears house slippers and uses a wheelchair. Ethel enjoys making fun of Earl and hitting him with her cane. Roy Danger Hess Sam McMurray Ponsmar, Body. Julianne Bisher, Arms. David Greenaway Tyrannosaurus Rex Roy is Earl's co-worker at the Westsaso Development Corporation and best friend. He is a dim-witted Tyrannosaurus who also has a brother named Roy. Bradley P. BP. Richfield Sherman Hemsley Leaf Tilden, Arms and Hands. Steve Whitmire. Rob Mills, occasionally. Triceratops BP Richfield is Earl, Roy, Ralph, Gus, and Sid's aggressive, heartless, and temperamental boss at the Westsaso Development Corporation, where he oversees the tree pushers. He is a Triceratops, but has the frill spikes of a Styracosaurus. In episode Hungry for Love, it is revealed that Mr. Richfield has a daughter named Wendy, in which she there is a slight affair with Robbie, and was known for eating any boyfriend of hers that disappoints him. Monica DeVertebrate Susie Plaxon Julianne Bisher Brontosaurus A. Brontosaurus, and Fran's best friend, who is the only four-legged dinosaur on the show and Roy's love interest. She is usually seen from the neck up. It took 3 or 4 people to operate her neck and head. Spike, full name unknown, Christopher Maloney David Greenaway Polycanthus. He is a semi-regular character who resembles a polycanthus with a bandana, a black leather jacket, and biker boots. Spike is Robbie's best friend, who often refers to him as Scooter. Spike is normally a bad influence on Robbie, whom he enjoys belittling and goading into dangerous and/or humiliating situations. To Spike's credit, however, he talked sense into his friend when Robbie used Thornoids, sentient anabolic substances, to impress a pretty female classmate. Ralph Needlenose Various Truden A. Truden, who is a co-worker of Earl and Roy at the Westsaso Development Corporation. The full-bodied costume used for Ralph is often used for one appearance, minor characters. Gus Spikeback Various Ceratosaurus A. Ceratosaurus, who is a co-worker of Earl and Roy at the Westsaso Development Corporation. The full-bodied costume used for Gus is often used for one appearance, minor characters. Sid Turtlepus Michelin Cysti John Kennedy Michelin Cysti Psittacosaurus A. Psittacosaurus, who is a co-worker of Earl and Roy at the Westsaso Development Corporation. Sid is seen more than the other characters. He enjoys bagels and donuts. The full-bodied costume used for Sid is often used for one appearance, minor characters. Mr. Pullman Alan Troutman Bruce Lawnoil, first time. Tom Fisher, later appearances. Alan Troutman Truden, a bespectacled Truden who is Robbie, Charlene, Mindy, and Spike's teacher at Bob Lawbury High School. The full-bodied costume used for Mr. Pullman is often used for one appearance, minor characters. Mindy Jessica Lundy star Townsend Julie Ann Bisher Corythosaurus. Other characters. Gary Steve Landsberg Dilophosaurus Gary is a 50-feet dinosaur whose feet can only be seen. He appeared in the Dinosaurs episode High Noon. He takes a romantic interest in Fran and challenges Earl for her. Gary has been classified as a Dilophosaurus. Dilophosaurus was actually smaller than Megalosaurus in reality. Blarney Steve Whitmire Deinonychus Blarney is a red Deinonychus hand puppet character on Dinosaurs, intended as a spoof of Barney the dinosaur. He appeared in dinosaur TV segments in 2 fourth-season episodes, Terrible Twos and Into the Woods. Blarney is adored by young children, but is less popular with older viewers. He appears on videotapes released as part of the Blarney Home Video Library. Parents who order will get a new video delivered to their child every hour for the next decade. Titles spoof not only the Barney franchise, but other commercials for mail-order videos, from fitness and health tapes to bridge, computers, and semi-religious quests. Henri Popon Tim Curry Alan Troutman, puppeteer. Archaeopteryx Henri Popon is an Archaeopteryx that appeared in the episode Getting to Know You. Henri is the father of Francois Popon and husband of Simone Popon. The Popons are a family of birds who come from an unnamed country, clearly based on France, that is outside of Pangaea. Henri is irritated by exchange student Charlene Sinclair. He is disappointed by the consumption of his own son, but feels that a big screen TV would help the healing process. Simone Popon Julianne Bisher Simone Popon is an Archaeopteryx that appeared in the episode Getting to Know You. She is the wife of Henri and the mother of Francois. Francois Popon Bruce Launoil Francois Popon is an Archaeopteryx that appeared in the episode Getting to Know You. He is the son of Henri Popon and Simone Popon. Francois was eaten by baby Sinclair. Decker Tom Sharp Pons Mar Ricky Boyd Glyptodon Decker is a Glyptodon that appeared in the episode Monster Under the Bed. When thought to be the titular monster that has been lurking under baby Sinclair's bed, it turns out that he was lurking under their house, which they built over his house when he captured him, Charlene, and Robbie. Decker did mention that he had to get a permit to do some tunnel digging. When Earl and Fran find out about the situation that ended up involving the police and a broadcast from Howard Handup that covered the hostage situation, baby Sinclair suggested that they move the Sinclair house off of Decker's house. Everyone accepted that idea after Howard Handup did a consultation with someone, as it is moved a short distance away from where Decker's house is. Georgie Alan Troutman, normal voice. Edward Asner, evil voice. Jack Tate Alan Troutman, European hippopotamus. Georgie is a dinosaur dressed as a full-bodied European hippopotamus. He is a children's TV icon and host of The Georgie Show, who appeared in the Dinosaurs episode Georgie Must Die. He appears as kind-hearted. Georgie is actually a megalomaniac planning to take over the world through his financial empire and the devotion of the dinosaur children. After Earl was arrested for impersonating Georgie, Fran invited Georgie down to the police department to clear things up, where he showed off his bad side when alone with Earl while stating that he was not pleased with Earl posing as him, and reveals his evil plans to take over the minds of children. Later that night, Earl learned about his motives from Jean-Claude and Bridget upon them springing Earl from the police department. Earl later fought Georgie on his television show and ended up defeating him. During the credits on the DNN Pre-Prime News, Howard Handup reported about the resulting fallout caused by last week's melee on The Georgie Show that sparked a Justice Department investigation on the Georgie Empire, leading to the arrest of Georgie himself on the charges of tax evasion and racketeering. It was also mentioned by Handup that Earl was pardoned of all criminal charges by the chief elder, who is also a parent, presented Earl with the key to the city, and thanking Earl for, in his words, giving that chuckling carpet bag the well-deserved shot in the chops. Roy ended up taking his place on TV as the eponymous Uncle Roy. Like Blarney, Georgie is also a parody of Barney. Dinosaurs. Outside of the recurring characters, there are a group of dinosaur characters called Dinosaurs. They are customizable dinosaur characters similar to the Whatnots from The Muppet Show and the Anything Muppets from Sesame Street. Some of the Dinosaurs are full-bodied while the others are hand puppets. They come in different types. Longsnout Dryptosaurus, a generic green Dryptosaurus. This Dinosaur was used for Ansel from the episode Driving Miss Ethel. His face was performed by Julian Bisher, his body was performed by Pons Mar, and his voice was provided by Michael McKean. The babysitter from the episode Terrible Twos. His face was performed by Bruce Launoil, his body was performed by Tom Fisher, and his voice was provided by John Glover. Buddy Glimmer from the episode Family Challenge. His face was provided by David Greenaway, his body performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Sam McMurray. The Devil from the episode Life in the Faust Lane. His face was performed by Bruce Launoil, his body was performed by Pons Marr, and his voice was provided by Tim Curry. Dr. Ficus from the episode Germ Warfare. His face was performed by Bruce Launoil, his body was performed by Pons Marr, and his voice was provided by Charles Kimbrough. Ed from the episodes Scent of a Reptile. His face was performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice provided by Tom Sharp. Mel Luster from the episode The Mating Dance. His face was performed by Bruce Launoil, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Richard Portnow. Stu Boomard from the episode Network Genius. His face was performed by Bruce Launoil, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Jason Alexander. Ty Warner from the episode Swamp Music. His face was performed by Bruce Launoil, his body was performed by Pons Marr, and his voice was provided by John Polito. Walter Sternhagen from the episode The Discovery. His face was performed by Bruce Launoil, his body was performed by Pons Marr, and his voice was provided by Tom Sharp. Needlenose Truden, a tall dinosaur resembling a truden with an elongated snout. In addition to being used for Mr. Pullman and Ralph Needlenose, this unisaur was used for the Doctor from the episodes Golden Child. His face was performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Tom Fisher, and his voice was provided by Sam McMurray. Dr. Herder from Terrible Twos. His face was performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Tom Fisher, and his voice was provided by Michael McKean. Glenda Molehill from the episodes Switched at Birth. Her face was performed by Bruce Launoil, her body was performed by Tom Fisher, and her voice was provided by Mimi Kennedy. Heather Worthington from the episode A Slave to Fashion. Her face was performed by Terry Harden, her body was performed by Tom Fisher, and her voice was provided by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Spikeback Ceratosaurus, a bulky ceratosaurus with a striped back, striped tail, and a nose horn. In addition to being used for Gus Spikeback, this unisaur was used for Sexual Harris from the episode What Sexual Harris Meant. His face performed by Bruce Launoil, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and voice provided by Jason Alexander. Andre from the episode Leader of the Pack. His face was performed by Mac Wilson, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Sam McMurray. Bob the DMV worker from the episode Unmarried with Children. His face was performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by David Wall. Dolph from the episodes Steroids to Heaven. His face was performed by Alan Troutman, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Sam McMurray. Frau Woodhouse from the episode Terrible Twos. Her face was performed by Julianne Bisher, her body was performed by Jack Tate, and her voice was provided by Julianne Bisher. Gus Molehill from the episodes Switched at Birth. His face was performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Jason Alexander. Hank Hibbler from the episodes Charlene and Her Amazing Humans. His face was performed by Alan Troutman, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Jeffrey Tambor. The Job Wizard from the episodes Career Opportunities. His face was performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Jason Alexander. Ray Gherkin from the episodes Scent of a Reptile. His face was performed by Ricky Boyd, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Glenn Shaddix. Richard from the episode Refrigerator Day. His face was performed by John Kennedy, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Tom Sharp. Shelley from the episode Dirty Dancin'. Her face was performed by Bruce Launoil, her body was performed by Jack Tate, and her voice was provided by Concata Farrell. Turtlepus Psittacosaurus, a brown turtle-headed Psittacosaurus that was used as Earl's co-worker Sid Turtlepus. This unisaur was also used for Crazy Lou from the episode Leader of the Pack. His face was performed by Julian Bisher, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice was provided by Ken Hudson Campbell. The clerk from the episode The Sun Also Rises. His face was performed by Bruce Lawnoyle, his body was performed by Jodie St. Michael, and his voice was provided by Robert Picardo. The Dinosaur Chief from the episode Hurling Day. His face was performed by Kevin Clash, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice provided by Harold Gould. The folk singer from the episode I Never Ate My Father. His face was performed by John Kennedy, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice was provided by Stephen Banks. Frank from the episode Friend Live. His body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice was provided by Tom Sharp. General H. Norman Conquest from the episode Nuts to War. His face was performed by John Kennedy, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice was provided by Jason Alexander. Hank from the episode Life in the Faust Lane. His face is performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice was provided by Michael McKean. The insurance agent from the episode Family Challenge. His face was performed by Bruce Lawnoyle, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Peter Bonners. Jean-Claude from the episode Georgie Must Die. His face was performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice was provided by Tim Curry. Mr. Myman from the episode Out of the Frying Pan. His face was performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Leif Tilden, and his voice was provided by Michael McKean. The Muse from the episode Charlene's Flat World. His face was performed by John Kennedy, his body was performed by Jack Tate, and his voice was provided by Robert Picardo. Officer Bettelheim from the episode License to Parent. His face was performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and voice was provided by Michael McKean. The Odd Job Dinosaur from the episodes How to Pick Up Girls. Police Chief Parrish from the episode Monster Under the Bed. His face was performed by Ricky Boyd, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice was provided by Michael McKean. Ted Hardshell from the episode Network Genius. His face was performed by Alan Troutman, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice was provided by Robert Picardo. UFO host from the episode We Are Not Alone. His face was performed by Bruce Lawnoyle, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice was provided by Jason Alexander. Zabar from the episode Germ Warfare. His face was performed by David Greenaway, his body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and his voice was provided by Dan Castellaneta. Unnamed female Unisaur class Corythosaurus, a female Corythosaurus with a short snout, eyelashes, hair-like crest, and lighter-hued skin that was often used for Mindy. This Unisaur was also used for Caroline Foxworth from the episodes How to Pick Up Girls and Steroids to Heaven. Her face was performed by Julian Bisher, her body was performed by Star Townsend, and her voice was provided by Julianne Bisher. Sally from the episode Out of the Frying Pan. Her face was performed by Julianne Bisher, her body was performed by Star Townsend, and her voice was provided by Susie Plaxon. Thighs of Thunder from the episode The Discovery. Her face was performed by Julianne Bisher, her body was performed by Star Townsend, and her voice provided by Susie Plaxon. Wendy Richfield from the episode Hungry for Love. Her face was performed by Julianne Bisher, her body was performed by Mitchell Insisti, and her voice was provided by Wendy Jo Sperber. Unnamed female light green Unisaur Dryosaurus, a female Dryosaurus with a short snout, eyelashes, hair like 3 crest. Topical issues. Although Dinosaurs is targeted at a family audience, the show touched upon multiple topical issues, which include environmentalism, endangered species, women's rights, sexual harassment, LGBT rights, objectification of women, censorship, civil rights, body image, steroid use, allusions to masturbation, in the form of Robbie doing the solo mating dance, drug abuse, racism, in the form of a dispute between the 2-legged dinosaurs and the 4-legged dinosaurs, peer pressure, rights of indigenous peoples, in the form of the dinosaurs interacting with cave people, corporate crime, government interference in parenting, and pacifism. In the episode I Never Ate for My Father, in lieu of carnivorism, Robbie chooses to eat vegetables, which the show uses as a metaphor for homosexuality, communism, drug abuse, and counterculture. The two-part episode, Nuts to War, was a satire of American involvement in the Gulf War, with two-legged dinosaurs going to war with four-legged dinosaurs over pistachios instead of oil. In the final season, The Greatest Story Ever Sold, a takeoff of The Greatest Story Ever Told, references religion when the Sinclair family becomes eager to learn the meaning of their existence. The elders dictate a new system of beliefs, and the entire cast, with the exception of Robbie, abandon science to blindly follow the newly popular potatoism. Another religious-themed episode was The Last Temptation of Ethel, in which Ethel willingly allows a televangelist to exploit her near-death experience to extort money from followers. She backs out after having a second such experience, where instead of heaven, she experiences a place not so nice, an existence surrounded by nothing but multiple Earl Sneed Sinclairs. Several jokes in the series were at the expense of television shows in general. Earl often wants to watch TV rather than do something more practical, and several jokes accuse television of dumbing down the population and making it lazy. Captain Action Figure shows up in children's programming that Fran mistakes for a commercial. Whenever Captain Action Figure mentions a product, the screen flashes, "Tell mommy I want that." Before the appearance of Georgie, Dinosaurs used a puppet reminiscent of Barney the dinosaur named Blarney in 2 episodes. During his appearances, members of the Sinclair family commented on his annoying characteristics and failure to teach anything to children. The characters will sometimes break the fourth wall as well, especially Baby. An example of such is seen in the episode Nature Calls, Season 3, Episode 1, when Fran and Earl spell out words in front of Baby during an argument, who, after looking at the camera and saying, "This could get ugly," proceeds to spell out "They think I can't spell" with his alphabet blocks. Series Finale. The final episode of Dinosaurs produced and aired on ABC was intended as the series finale, and depicts the irresponsible actions of the dinosaurs toward their environment and the ensuing ice age, which leads to their demise. Stuart Pankin, the voice of Earl, stated that the ending was a simplistic and heartfelt social comment, yet it was very powerful, with subtlety being a defining aspect. The television series creators decided to make this finale as a way of ending the series, as they knew the show could be cancelled when they created Season 4. Michael Jacobs stated that, "We certainly wanted to make the episode to be educational to the audience, and as people knew dinosaurs were no longer alive, the show would end by completing the metaphor and showing that extinction." Ted Harbert, president of ABC, expressed discomfort at the ending in a telephone call, but allowed it to go forward. Jacobs stated that correspondence from parents revealed that they understood the creativity in the final episode, and they were sad at the predicament we presented in the story. Pankin stated that everybody was at first shocked, but I think it was more of a reaction to the show ending. Pankin stated that he did not remember a significant number of audience members being angry about the ending. In 2018, Jacobs stated that the episode would have trended on social media had it been released that year. Noel Murray of the AV Club stated that the episodes delivered as blunt an environmental message as any major network TV broadcast since the Lorax. Brian Galindo of BuzzFeed described it as being shocking for children. International screening. In the United Kingdom, the show was screened on ITV in 1992 and in reruns from 1995 to 2002 on Disney Channel. In Canada, the show started airing reruns in 1992 on the Family Channel and aired them until the late 1990s. The show also aired on CHRO-EV in the early to mid-1990s. In Australia, the show started airing on the 7 network from February 1992 through to 1995. In Ireland, in the mid-1990s, it was shown on a Sunday evening on RT2, known as Network 2 back then. In 1994, it was shown in Italy on Rai 1. The show has also aired on TV3, then moved in 2003 to TV2 in New Zealand, KBC in Kenya, and Mnet in South Africa. In Brazil, the show started airing on Rede Globo from 1992 to 1999, on SBT from 2003 to 2005, on Band from 2007 to 2011, and on Canal Viva in 2014. In Mexico, the show was aired on Canal 5. Home media. The first 3 volumes were released on VHS on December 6, 1991. On May 2, 2006, Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment released Dinosaurs, the complete first and second seasons, as a 4-disc DVD box set. The DVD set includes exclusive bonus features including a never-before-seen look at the making of Dinosaurs. The complete third and fourth seasons, also a 4-disc DVD set, were released on May 1, 2007 with special features, including the episodes not aired on U.S. television. Both sets are currently available only in Region 1. On September 29, 2017, Hulu acquired the streaming rights to Dinosaurs along with fellow Disney, ABC television properties Home Improvement and Boy Meets World, in addition to fellow TGIF programs Family Matters, Full House, Hangin' with Mr. Cooper, Perfect Strangers, and Step by Step. Dinosaurs was made available for streaming on Disney Plus on January 29, 2021, for the United States. Reception. As of September 2022, the series as a whole has received an approval rating of 91% on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes. Its first season received an approval rating of 83%. Its consensus reads, Dinosaurs marries astonishingly expressive puppetry with genuinely funny satire of social norms, making for a forward-thinking prehistoric sitcom. While its fourth season received more critical praise, with a 100% approval rating. Awards and nominations. 1991 Primetime Emmy Awards Outstanding Art Direction for a Series John C. Mula, Brian Savegar, Kevin Pfeiffer episode The Mating Dance won. Primetime Emmy Awards Outstanding Editing for a Series, Single Camera Production Marco Zappia episode The Mighty Megalosaurus, nominated. Television Critics Association Awards Outstanding Achievement in Children's Programming nominated. 1992 Motion Picture Sound Editors Best Sound Editing, Television Episodic, Effects and Foley Patrick M. Griffith nominated. Environmental Media Awards TV Comedy Episode, Power Erupts won. 1993 Environmental Media Awards TV Comedy Episode If You Were a Tree won. 1995 Environmental Media Awards TV Comedy Episode, Changing Nature won. Well, there is another episode of Remember That Show. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions on shows you would like to see, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know how you liked this one in the comments. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, keep on collecting.
Bye.